Smash that like button like a boss. Just get us started. And I want a quick shout out to Steve Moskowitz, who is our
iron rod
sponsor here, and he's been giving Bay Area tax advice and also great counsel, and even setting up businesses around the Bay Area and California and across America. He's been doing all of that for over 30 years. So he can help you out as well at 888 Tax Deal. You can also reach Steve online, MoskowitzLLP.com. So much going on. Let's get started.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl yesterday. It was pretty good. We are fortunate that we have the commissioner of sports with us on this show. I mean, I'm amazed that he's here, but he is. The commissioner of sports is the great Albert, everyone. Albert, I know. Albert. Wow, that's Albert, it's time for you.
Well, the Super Bowl was a really good game up until the end. You hate to see it end like that, but overall, no Niners. I don't really care that much. So it was a good game. It was bad commercials. It was. I think Mark,
you didn't like the commercials.
What did you think of the commercials this year?
I thought they were. Let me give you the airliner view of the commercials. They're feeling really like they're trying too hard. There's so many celebrity-filled commercials that it's very hard to break through. They become, in a sense, their own noise, you know? It's kind of like what we talk about in media, that you have to make a lot of noise. That's why the screamers on YouTube, you know, the F-bomb, flame-throwing, political mouths, they get the most clicks. They have the most followers. There's a little of that in Super Bowl commercials. Everybody's casting more and more celebrities every year, and they're getting more and more creative. So the good news is you see a lot of recognizable people that you wouldn't think would be doing commercials. There used to be a stink about doing commercials, you know, selling out to the man who, and then the Stones licensed their music to be used in a commercial. And all of a sudden you found that was, in a way, the new kind of radio airplay for a lot of musicians. But Bob Dylan sort of looked down his nose at ever licensing, and then Dylan music was used, actually. So at some point, being in a commercial got cool, and now you end up with, or fun, and now you end up with a lot of celebrities. So my view of the commercials is that it's a lot of noise, but some still push through. So I like the Travolta commercial, for example. I thought that was funny. I think I like Travolta. I told you, you know what I mean? And I got on the chat, well, he's a Scientologist. I don't care if he's a Scientologist. I don't care if he's a born again. I don't care. I think he's a very talented actor and, for all I can tell, a pretty good guy. Sweet guy, you know? Anyway, I like that spot where we told you about it here on the show on Friday. That Summer Nights thing was going to be reprised. I like that. After that, they kind of fall off. The very best spot was the Breaking Bad spot.
Yeah, I agree. For that chip that I can't even name. I can't even name the chip.
No, I never heard of that chip before. The pop chip or something?
Yeah, something about popcorner or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, what is that chip? Yeah,
Google it.
Yeah, Google the chip. It's somewhere in there.
I also enjoyed, speaking of chips, I did enjoy the Doritos commercial with Jack Harlow, the triangle. And then
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah,
so
he's a rapper and he wanted a transition. He felt more inspired by doing something different. Obviously, Doritos come in triangles, so he actually had the musical triangle, and he was training people, and he got really famous for. It was a very short commercial. It was really good.
That's great. I wish I could remember. I couldn't see every single one. I tried to.
We'd love to watch it with the chat here, but I'm pretty sure we'll be copyrighted.
We can't. If we watch, we'll get copyright strikes. We can't show you anything, but we can kind of reminisce with you.
Yeah, Janet has it. Popcorner chips.
Popcorner chips. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, the commercials, I thought, they did what they're supposed to do. They got a lot of buzz, the Mr. Peanut getting roasted thing, and the spots that, and then I'm going to move on to the game, and then we're going to do Rihanna, and then but the spots that I thought missed but were oddly entertaining were the Ben Stiller, Steve Martin spots. I thought they were funny, but again, just a little too much. Like they needed to pull back in terms of really sticking the landing. They needed to pull back 15%.
I think those were the Pepsi commercials, right?
Right. Pepsi Zero, I think they call it. Yeah.
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 Is it just acting or is it actually good? Well,
yeah,
you're gonna have to find out.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a cool concept, and you're trying to integrate these very high-profile personalities into your spots, but I felt as though it just tried a little too hard. And when Stiller and Steve Martin are next to each other and they're both kind of making fun of each other, that was the best part of the spot, and then somehow it got hit. So that's my take on that. I'm two very likable personalities. There are a lot of likable. Snoop was in one of them. I think there's sort of a lot of likable celebrities who are in these spots. And then, and before we get to the game, the halftime show was spectacular. I mean, absolutely spectacular. Rihanna
it was essentially a pregnancy announcement.
It was a gender
everyone
reveal.
Was invited to Rihanna's pregnancy party. Everybody.
Well, I have some. First of all, here's something. There's kind of a rumor, and so I'll just speak to it. And that is that performers don't get paid anything for doing the halftime show. We've even talked about this on the show over the last couple of years. And there's truth to that. Rihanna and Bruno Mars and, fill in the blank, they don't get paid for their performance. Now, the production elements that go into that performance, that is typically picked up by the
would that be Apple Music? I think Apple Music sponsored the
they sponsor it.
Show.
I hate to say who this is. That right? Okay, so that's it.
Yeah, but it was usually I was used to it was like always the Pepsi halftime show for 20 something years, 15, 20 years. So this is a new thing. And I know they did a little cross promotion through Rihanna. Like we saw it in the commercials after. Even on YouTube. Oh my gosh, YouTube is just flooded with all Super Bowl ads.
They get nothing. Where is that? You get nothing for the actual.
You get nothing
for the actual performance, but the production elements are typically paid by the sponsors. Okay, so that's a huge cost. You're looking at halftime shows that are typically in the $13 million range. When Jennifer Lopez and Shakira performed, yeah, it was $13 million. That's the production cost. The performers sometimes even pick up some of their own production costs. It's rumored that The Weeknd dropped $7 million of his own money. And I say it's rumored because
that's real.
He said that that's what he spent of his own money to make that halftime show happen for him.
He had multiple sets though, and he was running through like a room. There was it went viral on Twitter. This is just the big part of the Super Bowl. You watch the moments in the Super Bowl to see the virality of the moment. And The Weeknd had like him running in this glass room or mirrored room. That was his moment. But Rihanna had, I don't know how she did it. She was pregnant up hundreds, I don't want to say thousands, but hundreds of feet up in the air, pregnant, dancing. And it was a really good show. Sometimes you forget how many songs she has because she hasn't really come back out. So
that's
and everybody
exactly
on Twitter
right.
was complaining, oh, she's pregnant, so we have to wait longer for more music.
Well, she says she's actually got an album waiting, but she's not committing to a timetable on it. But apparently because of her, I thought it was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And a lot's being made of the first pregnant performer. I don't know, pregnant, not. I'm just saying it was spectacular. And apparently, a lot of MAGA loyalists have criticized Sunday's Super Bowl. How can you politicize that? By the way, she's wearing red. How can you not be happy with that, MAGA loyalists? They say that. Well, I guess they were not happy with the Lift Every Voice and Sing performance that was done by Cheryl Lee Ralph prior to the national anthem being sung. That was the national anthem was sung by Chris Stapleton, and Cheryl Lee Ralph did a performance prior to that. I didn't see that. In the interest of full disclosure, I have to tell you. But was it? I don't know. Some people didn't stand or whatever. I mean, I don't know. That's supposed to be what, Albert? Are you familiar with that?
I do know. I was half watching. I'm like,
it's like a black national anthem, they say, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Just in general, just the preamble to the game, it just takes way too long. Like, it's regardless of singing the national anthem or not. It's just we're ready for kickoff, but it's already 3:45. I expected a 3:00 start, and it's just taking forever. But
I expected 3:30, and I thought it took forever. I agree. So I kind of ignored all of that. So sorry. Like, I even ignored the anthem. I saw it being sung, but I just,
all I saw was the Eagles coach crying on Twitter, like during the national anthem, because that was the clip that was circulating, and then the game happened, and it was a pretty good game, Mark. Like, from start to finish, it kind of felt like a college football game. It was blow for blow, high scoring.
Yeah,
you're waiting for that one mistake from the team.
It was a really, really tense game. By the way, on the anthem thing that neither Albert nor myself saw, but is now being sort of skewered by MAGA loyalists and maybe others. I see both sides of that. The one side is, hey, we've got an anthem. Okay, we've got one anthem, and can we just get that anthem done and then get the ball game underway? The other is, there's a segment of society that feels a bit disenfranchised, maybe a bit understates it, and Black America has a song that I guess is, and again, as a privileged white guy, I have to admit I didn't see it, and I also am not familiar with it. I know Cheryl Lee Ralph she's beyond talented, but so why not just let her perform and let that be the warm-up to the national anthem? I don't like the national anthem. I don't like anything about our national anthem. It's wrong. It celebrates war. It's bombs bursting in air. It's your rockets, red glare. Screw that, man. Make our national anthem America the Beautiful. You still have God in there if you want it as a lyric. And it celebrates the beauty of America, which is the spectacular thing about this country. And you can have Republicans in power and Democrats in power. It doesn't change the beauty of America. I mean, until we strip mine every last national park. So when you get to this national anthem thing, I don't know. Sing whatever you want. If I were there, I'd stand. What's the big deal? Whatever. But I agree. There's one anthem, and it's crappy. Okay, I just said it. And I love this country, and I love it enough to say we ought to have a better anthem. Now, the game, yeah, it was tense and great, and as the commissioner says, it was spectacular all the way to the end. All the way to the end. It
wasn't one of those like field goal here, grind it out type of games. It was a highlight from each team. You saw how evenly matched they were. And I thought the Eagles are so talented on both sides of the field that they're just relying on their individuals, and I think that was a difference because the Chiefs also rely on their individual play, but they also have a great scheme, and they do these crazy, bizarre plays, and whatever they did to special MVP is also Rihanna for how long the halftime show was, because I don't know what they did with Pat Mahomes at halftime. They had Mr. Miyagi in the locker room.
It was amazing.
And shooting up all the Toradol.
Look at this Kansas ankle. You know what? It reminded me of a bit, Niners fans. They're down by 10, the Chiefs, right? And I'm thinking, well, they were down by 10 to the Niners.
That's their sweet spot, Mark. That's when they finally activate. It's the third quarter. It's for your Warriors fans. It's the third quarter for the Warriors.
Right. There you go. They're down by 10. Mahomes, who is a magic man, limps into the locker room, and they come out and they win the game. Just spectacular.
They scored on every single possession in the second half, and they got a couple stops. And that shows how very few mistakes throughout the game. Like they missed a field goal, but then also Jalen Hurts had the fumble that went for a touchdown. Those things add up at the end, and unfortunately it was the holding call that everyone's been talking about at the very end. James Bradbury, who admitted after the game that he did hold. It's a perfect way for the NFL season to end, with the referees kind of taking over, not making it about them, but making a call at probably the worst time. But he did hold him, so I don't even know how you feel about that. I just didn't like how the game ended.
Yeah, there are two schools of thought, and I guess I'm not sure which one I fall into. I was bummed to see the holding call because I feel, as you do, that it skews the outcome, and it's like this. The refs skewing the outcome. On the other hand, the refs are responding to something that actually did happen. Don't you want the game settled in a fair way? But you don't get into that position unless you allow what you first were saying, which is that you allow KC to get down every single drive and score. I mean, this defense, I think it was exposed a bit. And by the end, you had, at the goal line, and then we'll move on. But at the goal line, you have wide open Kansas City receivers. How is that possible? I mean, at the NFL level, at the Super Bowl, you have no one. You twice. You have KC players completely uncovered. This is with essentially 7 yards to be defended. Usually that's an extremely crowded area of the field, right? Now, I give Andy Reid and the Chiefs credit for scheming that way, but I also think that's a failure of defense. So if you're an Eagles fan, I think that's tough. For somebody to be that wide open, come on. That's a blown
even the
assignment.
bigger plays, you see it happen for NFL defenses maybe one or two times if you're a good defense. But yesterday, the Chiefs were just so many plays went for huge yards, and it was like you said, like the defense, the Eagles defense was exposed. I was kind of biased towards the Chiefs the whole game since the Eagles did beat us last round. I also really didn't care, but I just didn't want to see Eagles fans win. That's a lot of people in the chat have been saying.
Yeah. They sold out on that huge blitz there. You really don't need to blitz in that situation if you're the Eagles. And, so when you sell it with that many guys blitzing, in a goal line situation, all you have to do is throw the ball 2.5 yards. So anyway, that was that. On to the, by the way, the Kelsey brothers, one Kelsey is playing for the Eagles, one Kelsey is playing for the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs' Kelsey has 2 Super Bowl rings, the other just 1. But a lot was made of that, and apparently they shared a moment. And I think, didn't I send you something on that, Albert? He said, F you, congratulations, or something. I think what the Kelsey brother who plays on the Eagles sent on Instagram an F you, congratulations. So, I mean, that was the nature of that. But anything else, Commissioner?
In the chat's asking about the status of Philly. It's just a couple cars. I think their internet's down, but it's not as big as pandemonium as I expected. But they are a little mad.
In the city, yeah.
In the actual, in Philadelphia.
In terms of destruction, they did most of their destruction after they won the NFC title. They became NFC champs. But I have also blowback in the chat about the anthem. So let me get to that blowback about the anthem.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know where it. Let me just look for the. I think it was Copper. Yeah, it says it was saying something about it doesn't celebrate. Let me go back, Copper, to try to give you your moment here, please. Mark, it doesn't celebrate war. It celebrates us surviving the British attack. This is in relation to our anthem. Okay, I'll grant you that. It was a war, all right, and it's not speaking to the essence of what America is. Is that what we're about? surviving a British attack? No. I mean, I understand it was inspired by a British. Great. I understand what it was written about. What I'm saying is America should be reminded before football games, before every sporting event, over and over and over again, the anthem, anthem, anthem. Don't kneel for it. Put your hand over your heart for it. Sing the lyrics loudly. Take off your hat. Whatever. If you want that degree of respect to the anthem, make it about something that reflects America, the beauty of America, the freedom of America. It's not just repelling British colonialists. So that's where I am on that. But thank you, Copper. Mahomes got some special painkiller, says Randy. That's my guess. Too bad it's not available at CVS for the rest of us. It was, I thought about the painkiller thing, and it's funny you say this, Randy, because, painkillers mess with your head, but I'm sure they rubbed every kind of weird, lidocaine, lanocaine, whatever, right, into that area of Mahomes' leg that he was hurting. It's clearly something happened, but Lori says over 100 years after the war, it is about, over 100 years after the war, it is about. Doesn't it celebrate winning the War of 1812? Again, whatever war is celebrated, I'm so sick of war being what this country is about. That's what anthems are for. You want a folk song, says Colleen. Isn't America involved in pretty much all wars? I don't mean to laugh. There is considerable truth to so much money invested in the military. Yeah, says Viraj. Thank you. Yeah. Cortisone shot. That's interesting. Julie may be right. It might have just been a simple cortisone shot. It couldn't have been a painkiller per se for the reasons. You got to find something that doesn't mess with his head, Let's pretend that America is all about pretty landscapes, which were not created by Americans, right? I mean, no, look, part of the beauty and magic of America is where we live. And we didn't create it, but we can conserve it. And I actually like a song, and I didn't think we'd get off on this to this point, but I like a song, I like an anthem that speaks to that beauty. Because implied in speaking to that beauty is conserving and protecting that beauty, something which we do not do. And all you have to do to see how we don't protect it is take a ride through America with the open drilling and open dumping and the effluence, the runoff from all of these agricultural farms with pigs and cows, and that stuff contaminates soil. And so I don't mean to get off on a rant, but I'm just suggesting that celebrating the magic, even if it's the landscapes of America, the beauty of where we live, that's a real thing to be celebrated. And I don't mind celebrating that and thinking about the rest of the country and implying the freedoms and the responsibilities of being an American in the anthem. So there's that. Yeah, but don't forget, it's not really our country anyway. John Smith says, this land is the Native Americans' land. So true, of course. I mean, look, we're colonialists too. Just as we survived colonialism, we ended up being colonialists ourselves. So, anything else, Albert, in the chat that I need to pay attention to before I move on to John Slade says the Pledge of Allegiance is basically a lie and religious indoctrination. Well, it is indoctrination. That's absolutely right. I don't know the religious part, but I know what you're saying. It smacks of the same sort of indoctrination that you'll oftentimes find in a church or in a church school or whatever. You're right. You say it every day. You know, it's funny. It rolls over you when you're a kid. You don't even know really what you're right?
Yeah, you're on autopilot. You're
Exactly.
like barely awake. You just stand up and do your thing. You're like, oh God, another
Right.
day of school.
Right. I know I've got to say this because, to get if I don't have this memorized, I get dinged. But the reality is I don't know what I'm saying when I'm a kid. So, anyway, questions about Rihanna. Why were Rihanna's dancers dressed like Arctic explorers from a 1910 polar expedition, says Tom. Albert, you're our costume guy.
Yep, we got that, and we also got people saying that they were in hazmat suits in the chat. I think she's very into fashion. She has her own brand, which in the middle of it's a makeup brand, Fenty, and in the middle of the performance, she did put on her own makeup to give herself a shout out. So big shout out, I guess.
Yeah, wow, wow.
Little cross promotion, but
big shout out.
I don't know.
Okay,
I thought it looked great. I thought the costumes looked great.
I thought so too. I mean, I think they want stuff that's visually striking, and I thought it worked. Look, I thought her performance was outrageously great, and I'm not hanging out for the halftime show like a lot of people do, but man, it blew me out. And that platform 60 feet above the stadium, I mean, I'd be petrified, much less able to perform. She was spectacular. Absolutely
while pregnant.
Spectacular.
And also, I loved how she didn't have to rely on others. She just did her own thing. It was just Rihanna, no cameos, just all her hits, back to back to back.
And as Albert said, I didn't realize she had so many hits. Really, really terrific. Yeah. Good stuff. Smash the like button like a boss while you're here. I mean, this is the place to do it.
Iron rod.
Whenever I'm on a YouTube channel, I watch it even for a second, I smash the like button. Costs nothing. And you want to it's way to. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.